Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. Today it's September 16th, 2020, and the Criterion Collection has just made its announcement on its website with regard to its planned releases for December 2020. You can take a look at the Criterion website directly for more information. But let me just give you my thoughts and comments about this particular set of announcements. A very interesting set, as always. But without further ado, let me say that first, on December 1st, Criterion will release David Cronenberg's Crash. Then on December 8th, Criterion will release Robert Bresson's Mouchette, and then William Greaves' Symbiotaxiplasm, 2 takes by William Greaves. Then, and finally, on December 15th, 2020, will be the release of Alejandro Iñárritu's Amores Perros. So that is the 4 titles that we are getting from Criterion. There's a lot to say here, and so I hope to be able just to share with you just a little bit of my thoughts. First of all, please note that in the past, Criterion usually, for its December releases in a given year, will have a relatively light amount of releases. So this month, or this year, 4 titles is not all that surprising to me. So, especially given the fact that the previous month of November will be particularly busy with a number of releases, including, I might add, the Fellini box set. So, this is, I think, par for the course in terms of what we can usually expect from Criterion, given its past release history. So this is okay. This is good. We must note also that there is no release, unfortunately, announcement of the Wong Kar-wai box set that had been heavily rumored. So we're not getting a Wong Kar-wai box set, at least in terms of these announcements. Now, we have to remember that the New Year's Clue had indicated 4 box sets, and this year, of the 4, we got 3 of them. So we got the Varda box set, we got the Bruce Lee box set, and we got the Fellini box set. We're going to get the Fellini box set. The 4th, of course, we know is generally understood to mean the Wong Kar-wai box set. And in fact, there had been rumor that the Wong Kar-wai box set would be released, maybe announced in December of this year. And so I had been anticipating this to be part of the December releases. So I must admit to being quite surprised that it's not. What does this mean? It could mean a number of things, right? It could mean either that Criterion will either actually release the box set of Wong Kar-wai but just make a separate announcement of it, or the box set will be in fact released sometime next year. So that's just it's one of a number of possibilities, and so that's something to keep in mind going forward. But I know a lot of people, myself included, were expecting something. Maybe some people might be expressing some disappointment that there isn't a Wong Kar-wai box set announcement here. But please note that it has been heavily rumored, and so it's a matter of when, not if. So it will be coming. It's just a matter of when. So hopefully it will be very soon. And maybe it'll be a separate announcement. Maybe it'll be part of the upcoming announcements for further months. We'll have to wait and see. But there's that. The other thing is, of these 4, we have, of course, the 2 releases planned for December 8th that are currently existing in the Criterion Collection. So these, of the 4, these 2 can be considered, say, Blu-ray upgrades, which is right here. So the first one is, well, let me just start with this one, because this is Spine number 360. This is, excuse me for the poor lighting, but this is the current DVD of Spine number 360 of William Greaves' Symbiotaxiplasm, 2 takes. And this is a 2-disc DVD. I think it's one of the most fascinating works in the Criterion collection. I've had the great opportunity to have been able to talk about this to a certain degree anyway on this channel before. It's really quite a beautifully constructed puzzle in many respects. And so I'm very much happy about this announcement, because it means very likely that for a lot of people who are maybe not necessarily into DVD formats, for a lot of people, therefore, this film, or the films, Symbiotaxiplasm, the 2 takes, will be made available on Blu-ray. So hopefully that means that this will have the film gain more exposure in the film fan community, because it really deserves it. It truly does. This is such a brilliantly conceived work, or works. And I say that in the plural because we are getting, in a sense, we're getting 2 films for the price of 1. So please take a look at this if you can. I strongly recommend it. So this is what we can expect during December. And then the other DVD currently, which will be upgraded to Blu-ray in December, will be Mouchette, Robert Bresson's Mouchette, and this is Spine number 363. This is a spare, raw, uncompromising, cold work from the career of Robert Bresson during the late 60s. And for some of you who are Bresson fans, you will know that this is this is in keeping with Bresson films that we've known in the past, but also it serves as, it comes at a particular point in Bresson's career. Some might say that it's a different kind of feeling and mood and atmosphere that we get in his late 60s work versus, say, the work that came earlier. So this is a kind of important milestone work for Bresson films and for people who are into his works. This is devastating, poetic, and sparse, and quite alluring, daring, and very shocking in many respects. Highly worth it. It's one of Bresson's most powerful works. So Mouchette, Spine number 363, which will get an upgrade to Blue in December. Now, I just want to mention also that for Mouchette, it looks like we're going to be getting a brand new 4K digital restoration for the Blu-ray versus the high def that we got for the DVD. So that's something to look forward to. And then for Symbiotaxiplasm, it looks like we're not getting any. It looks like it's going to be the high definition transfer that we got for the DVD. So I'm not sure if we're getting any new 4K based release of this. It doesn't look like we're getting anything. So, but still, please don't let that discourage you from getting this. This is really worth it. These 2 films are highly worth it, and with the Blu-ray upgrade, hopefully this will mean that we will be getting more exposure of these films among the film fan communities, because, as I say, these 2 films are really exciting and very much worth it. Let me just skip to the December 15th announcement, which is Amores Perros. This is scheduled for release on Spine number 1060. I'm so thrilled about this. I'm really thrilled about this, because the film Amores Perros is one of the most exciting, shocking, brilliant, vital works from Mexico in the sort of recent years, from 2000, and so it helped in many ways to. It certainly opened my eyes when I first saw it, and it sent kind of like shock waves, if you will. So and it's so wonderfully constructed as a work of art. So I'm very much looking forward to this. On a personal note, some of you may know that last month and a little bit this month, I had the great pleasure and honor of being able to work a little bit with the Embassy of Mexico here in Japan, dealing with certain aspects of the cinema of Mexico. And part of that was dealing with Mexican cinema, or just thinking about or considering Mexican cinema as it appears in the Criterion collection. Now, I should say that on the one hand, I think Mexican cinema, of course, it could be more represented in the Criterion collection. However, at the same time, I think we are getting some very interesting representations already in the current physical media catalog, which is fantastic. And then we're getting further representations of this great cinema of Mexico. We're getting, of course, this Amores Perros, and then, of course, earlier we're going to get the World Cinema Project, WCP set number 3. Which is going to be, again, another example of the further expansion of cinema of Mexico here in the Criterion collection. So I'm very excited for this. The cover art looks quite fascinating, and we have great special features, and I encourage you to take a look at those at the website. So I'm incredibly excited about this, and I hope you are as well. So this is going to be Amores Perros, again, spine number 1060, available December 15th. Okay, and so with that, I think I want to return to December 1st and Crash, David Cronenberg's Crash, which is going to be for spine number 1059. So this is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one, and in fact, I don't know, but I anticipate that this will be gaining a lot of discussion on the social media and film fan community sites, etc., for a lot of reasons. First of all, this is such a cold and compelling work. Crash is cold and compelling, complicit and cool, and at the same time quite daring, very provocative and alluring, and very bleak, but also quite warm in some places, I would suggest. So there is a lot of complexity involved in this very. At the time, it was considered somewhat controversial, and perhaps it still is, but I think it's very important in the context of David Cronenberg, one of the most fascinating cinematic artists of our time. So with this, we're getting yet another David Cronenberg film in the Criterion collection, which is fantastic, of course, because, as you know, we've had other Cronenberg films in the collection. Videodrome comes to mind, Scanners, The Brood. We used to have Dead Ringers. Hopefully we might get that back, but anyway, we've had those. And so now we have Crash. Oh, we've had Naked Lunch, of course, and now we've had Crash. Okay, so a number of things we should mention. First of all, this is scheduled for release in North America, according to the site, on December 1st, 2020. Now, I don't know if you know this, but also on November 30th, in the United Kingdom, Arrow Video is going to be, or planning to release, a number of titles for its November lineup. And among those titles for Arrow Video is Crash. So Crash is going to be released in the UK on Arrow, and it looks to be a fantastic release by Arrow. It's also releasing, Arrow's going to release it on Blu-ray, and also, according to the news, on 4K. So there are going to be 2 formats releases for the film Crash by Arrow in November. And according to the news, and you can look at it, for instance, on, say, Blu-ray.com, you can see that Arrow also is planning a number of supplements to be included with this release. A lot of new supplements, they're labeled news, so we can assume that that means recently filmed or shot interviews with a number of affiliated persons, so including Howard Shore and Jeremy Thomas. And also there's a new audio commentary with film scholar Adrian Martin. Again, this is for the Arrow release. So you can take a look at this news in the Blu-ray.com section. I'll leave a link below just in case you're interested. So with this, we have Arrow in the UK releasing Crash, including a 4K release of Crash. And then we have Criterion on the following day, the United States, they're going to be releasing Crash here under the Criterion label. So we are automatically left to have to compare and contrast the two. So we have to compare Arrow and Criterion. So a number of things come up immediately, right? Which is that this obviously brings to mind the fact that Criterion is again not releasing anything on 4K. We have Blu-ray releases, 1080p releases based off of new digital 4K digital restorations, that's for sure. But these aren't 4K releases by Criterion. They've never done that, and as of now, they haven't done that. We've seen a number of occasions where this has been quite conspicuous. Elephant Man comes to mind, but now we have Crash. So for some of you who I think are very much keen on the latest kinds of formats, this will be perhaps an issue. And so that's perfectly reasonable. So please keep that in mind, and please keep in mind that Arrow, at least in the UK, will be giving an alternative in the UK anyway. So just keep that in mind. Also, we have to remember that we're getting different supplements. And according to the Criterion website, we're getting a lot of supplements, but they seem to be from, say, 1996. There's a Q&A from 96. There's a press conference from 96. There's a behind-the-scenes footage and press interviews, and I'll get to that in a moment. And then there is an audio commentary. Okay, so these all seem to be nothing that is new versus the Arrow release, which seems to be indicating a lot of new supplements, and I put that in air quotes to suggest that this means that my understanding is that Arrow's releases will have recently shot and produced supplements, whereas the Criterion release will be based primarily off of archival stuff. Okay, so for some that might seem to be a weakness of the Criterion release, and I think that's a very reasonable approach to have. Okay, also take a look at the well, actually, let me get back to this. Also, I'm very intrigued by the cover art. This is also going to be a very interesting comparison. The Arrow cover art for Crash versus the Criterion cover art for Crash. Quite provocative, actually, and I think the cover art for the Criterion collection is very provocative indeed. I think it might raise a few eyebrows, that's for sure. And but it's something that is in keeping with the film, I think. So just take a look at that if you're interested. And okay, then it brings me to the reason why I think this is important in the Criterion Collection releases, which is that it includes, of course, a 1997 audio commentary. The Criterion release includes a 1997 audio commentary by David Cronenberg himself. Now, I think this is probably one of the selling points of the Criterion Collection release, because according to the Arrow news, my understanding is that the Arrow release will not be including an audio commentary track by Cronenberg. It will be having a new commentary track with film scholar Adrian Martin, the Arrow releases, but not the Cronenberg commentary track. The Criterion release has the Cronenberg commentary track from 97. It says 1997 because this is, in fact, I understand, going to be taken from this, which is the Criterion Collection Laserdisc of Crash. This is at spine number 349. So for those of you who may not know, this used to be a Criterion Collection Laserdisc. And my goodness, what an interesting later Laserdisc this was. This came rather late in the Laserdisc lineup. And It was really one of the more provocative titles for obvious reasons, and it was great that it had it. So in this way, this announcement by Criterion of Crash is, in essence, a Laserdisc upgrade of one of its earlier titles. And in that sense, I'm very excited. Included on the Laserdisc is the audio commentary track. In fact, I'm very much looking forward to the reaction, because it's a really fantastic one. Cronenberg has this way about him and his manner and demeanor when he's giving commentaries, and this is no exception to that. It's a splendid one indeed. So please note that this is a very important announcement in that respect, because this is, in essence, a Criterion Laserdisc come to life on a Blu-ray. Again, on spine number 1059. Okay, so just to conclude the discussion on Crash, so my understanding, therefore, is that Arrow will be having its release in the UK, including the 4K release, and then Criterion will have its release in the United States. They will have different supplements, they have different cover arts, and they look to be based off of the same restoration. At least that's what I can take from the descriptions. They seem to be based off the same, because they seem to be similarly approved by the artists. So my assumption is that they will be the same, but of course there might be differences in presentation and the like, and so we'll have to keep an eye out on this for those who want to get both versions as a compare and contrast type of analysis. For those, I think maybe the Arrow release might seem more attractive, and then for others, the Criterion might seem to be the place to go. There might be issues, of course, as far as region zoning, as well as and in terms of your own capabilities and your players are concerned. So maybe you will need to get a particular region of a Blu-ray, and that might affect what your choice is. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Also, as I say, maybe if you want to be completist in terms of Cronenberg and supplements, you might want to get both, because the supplements are different. The Arrow supplements sound really splendid, but the Criterion supplements do have the benefit of the inclusion of the audio commentary track by Cronenberg himself. So maybe that might mean that you might want to get both. Okay, that's something to consider. And the like. Is this an instance of where maybe Arrow has topped Criterion? It could be. It could be. And it's been done before. And Arrow is one of the premier labels out there. I mean, I acknowledge that wholeheartedly. I'm a huge fan of Arrow. And so this could be an instance where Arrow has topped Criterion. But we'll have to wait and see. And there's that. And we'll see what the essays are like, because I'm also a big champion of the essays, and I really think that that's part of the overall package. Although I must admit that Arrow's essays and essay packaging are out of this world. They are really out of this world, and so even in the essay department, Arrow can give Criterion a run for its money. So this is going to be yet another instance where we're going to have to see which label has done a better job. But it looks like on paper that maybe Crash by Arrow might seem to have the edge. Although, as I say, this release by Criterion is significant in terms of its Laserdisc history, so please keep that in mind. Okay, so with that, just my overall comments, I think, are that it's a light month, but that is in keeping with past December, so that's okay. I'm very excited for Amores Perros, incredibly excited for this, and I'm very much excited for the re-release of Symbiotaxiplasm and Mouchette. And then as for Crash, I've made my comments here known. My sense is that this looks like it could be an instance, again, we're going to have to see, where, again, it's going to be another Criterion, which is better, Criterion or Arrow. And perhaps for some, maybe for many, it might be the answer to that being Arrow. So we're just going to have to wait and see about that. And it could be for me too, I'm not sure, because I plan to get the Arrow release as well, and so I'm very much going to be keeping an eye out on which is quote-unquote better. And at last, it also, again, puts the spotlight on the fact that Criterion is not releasing 4K physical media. So I know it doesn't really affect me as much. I'm not such, I don't really mind that point about Criterion. So I don't see it as being a fatal flaw. However, I do appreciate the fact that for some, this is a very important aspect, especially now that we're seeing other competing labels that are entering the 4K mix. And so the fact that Criterion is not is conspicuous. So will this trend continue? Will Criterion maintain its current approach to physical media, or will it change going forward? We're going to have to wait and see. As far as it goes now, it's going to be pretty much the way it is. So, but still, even the way it is not bad at all from where I'm sitting. So overall, I think it's a really splendid month, and so I think it'll be one that will be filled with a lot of discussion, as many Criterion release months are. So that just goes without saying, I think. But in any event, my friends, very excited for these titles. But what do you think, my friends? Please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what it is you have to say. Okay, so that's it for now, and so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great movies. Thank you once again for your time, my dear friends, as always, and cheers.